courses sooner rather than later. Now, what that means is in September 30th, it cannot submit. It doesn't mean everything has to be done. It means when a faculty member clicks submit and sends it through the process, once we hit October 1st, they can't do that anymore. So they need to do that before September 30th. But again, really want to make sure people are starting this sooner rather than later, so that we're not having a bunch of people flooding us with stuff in the first week of the semester, because that's how we end up with major backups. Gabby, see your hand raised?
Yeah, hi. I was just wondering, when will the list of courses and programs that are due for revision be available to us?
That already is. I think they were sent the addendum, Debbie, or is that? Yeah. So when you got the agenda for today, that came with an addendum. And the addendum it's not 100% complete. I think it's in maybe 85, 90% range complete, but that is the list of courses and programs that are due for revision for next semester. I mean, can be completed by next semester for the fall 2023 semester.
I see it. Okay.
Yes. And you'll see it's not as big as last year. So even worst case scenario, we probably won't have a 6.5 hour meeting in fall, but we could still end up with a 4 to 5 hour meeting if everybody waits until August or September to start submitting courses. So if we have another big meeting, we could have pizza, Ariel. But my goal is not to have a big meeting. Keep in mind, we still have the situation in November where we don't actually have a regularly scheduled meeting, because Veterans Day is on one of our meetings and Thanksgiving is on the other one. So if we can get people doing stuff early, we could actually be wrapped up by the end of October. So think about that. So really, I'm pushing you to go push your faculty. Don't wait, start, do stuff early. Mention that not just in your March department meeting, but in the March meeting, in the April meeting. If you have a May meeting, please just mention that. Don't wait until fall. And even for summer, so now the committee won't be meeting in the summer, but curriculum specialist Debbie and Robin, and I think Sam will be back by summer, Debbie. I'm not sure. And by the way, she has not had her baby yet. So I know that's probably what some people are thinking. We don't know yet.
I'm not sure when she'll be back, but she said about 6 months is what she was planning. So.
Okay. So not until maybe like late summer, but I'll be around. Debbie will be around. The counselors will be around because they're 11 and 12 months. So you don't, even when people get to summer, they can still be starting the process. If it gets to the end of spring and people haven't started, they don't have to go, well, I guess I can't start until the start of fall. No, you can start it in summer, because the parts that tend to take the most time, like tech review, and I'm the tech review chair. So even if the other tech review members aren't there, I can be doing tech review. And for programs going through counselors, that kind of thing, that can sometimes take the most time. And if those are settled by the time we get into fall, stuff just moves faster and easier. So please, I just want, Veterans Day is on a Friday. Oh, okay, so we may have one meeting in November this year. But I really want to encourage you, because remember, if you go out and push your faculty to start sooner, it makes our lives, the people in this meeting now, lives better in fall, because we don't want to have big, gigantic meetings anymore in November. We'd like to have a series of small contained meetings instead of one massive one. So that's my big push on that. I have a request to make. So beyond the request I've just made, I'm asking a lot of everyone. So Kent Moser will be leaving AP&P next year. So he, in addition to his spot, he also covered two other roles. One was the DE liaison, which is the person who sits on AP&P and distance ed. He's that person, so we need a replacement. However, Gabby has already kind of volunteered, but I want to see if anybody else has an interest in volunteering for that. Okay, congratulations, Gabby. You're the new DE liaison. Kent's other big role, however, is tech review. And we need to replace him on that. Right now, our tech review committee is Gabby, Kent, and myself. And so we definitely don't want just two of us. We'd like to have three of us back again. So is anybody right now offhand interested in getting on the tech review committee? Anybody at all?
Gabby doesn't bite very hard. She's easy to work with.
Yes.
Uh,
Well, here's what we'll do. Oh, Rhonda, did you step up or did everyone else step back? Thank you.
I stepped up.
go
I think I've
Rhonda.
done this with you before, so I can probably do it again.
That's right. We were on tech review together a few years ago.
Yep.
Yes. So thank you. All right. So our new tech review committee is Gabby Porman and Rhonda Nogales, and Rhonda actually has experience at it. So that's a very cool thing. And then also me. I'm not just mentioning that so that nobody's thinking I'm trying to move away from that. But we will be the tech review committee. So thank you very much, Rhonda. All right. I'm trying to think if I had another announcement. Just a quick thing. Just so you're aware, we will not have our next meeting until March 24th because spring break shows up at our first March meeting. So we're going to have a long break. Oh, and on the, I know something I forgot. On announcing to faculty about starting revisions and especially new stuff. New stuff takes a lot more time even than revisions. There's going to be an announcement probably being sent out to all faculty tomorrow, but don't rely on that. You know, one thing I've learned with faculty is it helps if they hear the same message multiple times. So we're going to send out an email tomorrow through PR. All of you, please mention it repeatedly in your division meetings that we need that. All right. Minute.
Can I ask a question about the dates?
Sure.
I see one on May 5th, which is like the first Thursday of the month of May.
Okay.
Is that a schedule? Because usually our meetings are second and fourth Thursday.
That was my error. So I removed it in the updated
Oh, okay.
packet. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
It was a Senate meeting, I think, on the 5th.
Yeah, that would be Senate.
Scott, I also wanted to remind you that Glenn Knowles volunteered for AMUH.
Right.
For the
Arts and Humanities. They needed a second rep. So Glenn Knowles will be joining the committee as the second Arts and Humanities rep. And just so you know, if you, we've got 3 meetings left on March 24th, April 14th, and April 28th. So those are our 3 APMP meetings left for spring. All right. Any other questions about my comments before we move on to minutes? All right. So can I have a motion to approve the minutes from 2/10/22?
So moved.
Second.
All right. People have had a chance to look them over. Any corrections or comments? All right. Then all in favor of approving the minutes as is, please say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstained.
Okay, Ariel abstains. All right, excellent. So now I'd like to make a change to the agenda. So we've got eLumen coming in for a second training today, but they're coming in at 3:30, specific to programs. So what I'd like to do is move our 2 action items up because I don't think either of them will take that much time. And I think we could approve them and get them done before we go into the training session. So I'd like to go down to, can I have a motion to approve the action item change of eLumen workflows, adding a council review stage to program workflows?
So moved.
Second.
Second, okay. So just to reiterate or restate what I talked about last time, in the program workflows, we want to add a counselor review stage at the second stage, because the counselors, they understand programs very deeply, very well, and they can really spot problems at an early stage before they start moving through. So a lot of times what you've seen like Luis doing in the committee meeting, he can now do early on before it ever gets to committee. So it makes the whole process move better. It also encourages faculty making program revisions or new programs to actually go talk to a counselor, which they should be doing anyway. This will really help encourage that. So any additional comments or discussions people have on this or questions? Okay, then all those in favor of adding a counselor review stage to program workflows, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? All right, I really think that is going to help us a lot. That is, yeah, that's one of those things that when I was looking at stuff that was going wrong last fall, the big thing in my head was if the counselors could see this a lot sooner, we would be a lot better off. All right. Second, can I have a motion to approve officially making our membership 2 representatives per division?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all right. So just again, to pick up on this from last meeting, we essentially have 2 members per division already, but it's not actually codified in our handbook. So this would make it official in the handbook that every division has 2 representatives, not just 1. So any comments or questions on this? Richie.
Yes, hi. I guess the impact of this would be directly to rhetoric and literacy, because as far as I'm concerned, Ariel from World Languages or Languages Department has moved with the RNL faculty. And so we now currently have 3 representatives. So I guess if this is a means for me to get out,
Yeah.
having been here for 5 years, maybe, I don't know. But at the same time, I'm also wary that Heidi stepped in for Jeffrey's place for this year. So anyway, I'm just throwing it out there because there's some shuffling with the departments.
Right.
This will certainly impact rhetoric and literacy, which will be renamed again. So.
Oh, good.
It may
We
also
can change all that again. Great. Thank
it may
you.
also affect the number, depending on how many faculty there are in each division. That may also affect representation in the committee, Scott. So when you look at that later.
Yeah, and it could be we have to revisit this because we don't know what everything is going to look like. But I still think, especially since we have essentially, as I'm looking at the list, I think the only 2 divisions right now that don't have 2 people on it are athletics and kinesiology and counseling. Everybody else has at least 2. And I think that works, especially with courses coming through, because it means there are 2 people there to have eyes on for what's coming out of their division. So I still think this is a good idea, but yeah, come fall, when we know what the future looks like, we may have to revisit. And for right now, so Ariel, you're still in Arts and Humanities now, or have you already moved over?
No, we moved over. And so I'm sort of in this weird limbo where I'm happy to help Arts and Humanities, but I'm officially in.
Okay.
That was as of last month, correct, Ariel and Heidi and
Yes.
Richie?
As of
Yeah,
It was started the spring semester.
Okay, so it was okay, thank you.
Okay.
We need to go through our own Senate documentation and other campus documentation and reflect that. Thank you.
So then for this semester, for the next 3 meetings, Well, one thing is we're not saying that there is a limit to 2, or we could change the language so that there is a minimum of 2. Because it right now is just for this semester that everything is kind of, we have 3 people in rhetoric and literacy. Because I do think, yes, because Glenn, that's right, Glenn is picking up Ariel's spot in arts and humanities. So arts and humanities will have 2. That's who Glenn Knowles is replacing then, is you. So arts and humanities will have 2. Rhetoric and literacy will then have 3. Now, Richie, you could, if you're interested, step down for fall, but if Heidi's not going to be there step down for now, but if Heidi's not going to be there come fall, you might need to come back. That's maybe a conversation that Richie and Heidi need to have about about spring versus fall.
Yeah, it's divisional representation, so they get to select.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with staying on the committee, Richie. You've been on it for 5 years, so you've done your job.
Now, Heidi, are you interested in staying on in fall? Because I was kind of getting that from Richie, that maybe you're thinking about dropping in fall.
Well, I was only temporarily on here for
That's
fall
right.
because Jeffrey Ahmad was taking a leave of absence just for fall. But
Right.
then that filtered over into spring too, so I'm still here. But I've learned.
And
quite
now
a
she's
bit.
retiring also.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
she's gone for
Yeah.
good. And I've learned quite a bit, and I don't mind staying on the committee. So
Okay. Well, then how about Richie? You've done your 5 years and we thank you for your service, but Heidi becomes the new rep. I do think you need to get your division to officially approve that, but that way I think maybe that's the way to go.
Yeah, we can certainly send that as an agenda item for the next division's meeting. And so if the official word is within AP&P committee that we're only having 2 reps per division, then at least based on what Heidi is saying, and we'll certainly confirm it with each other to make sure this is really how we're moving forward. And we'll definitely make an official vote on that for our next division meeting.
Okay. So since we've had 3 rhetoric and literacy reps for this semester so far, we'll just have one for this meeting. And then you and Heidi will work that out for the March 24th meeting. Sound good?
So are we, because I know that we're talking about beginning in the fall, right? But for the spring, so basically one of us will have to step down too. Is that my understanding, or are we just talking about for starting in the fall?
It would start now. It would start
Okay.
in spring.
Okay.
But if neither of you really wants to go, we could still have 3. But yes, it would start now, aiming for the March 24th meeting.
Okay, and then moving forward from there too.
Correct.
Okay, sounds good. All right, thank
All
you.
right. All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, then all in favor of approving 2 representatives for division, please say yes, say aye, or raise your hands.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? All right, motion carries. Thank you both very much. Thank you all very much. All righty. Our 2 action items already down. Let's see. So we've still got 10 minutes. So Jessica, is that enough time to cover the Math 102 language, or do you need more time?
Well, we can certainly begin.
Yeah, we can start.
Yeah, I'm hoping it won't take more than 10 minutes.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. So I had asked Scott and the committee to delay placing this because the UC, obviously with this, I don't know, it's not a change exactly, but with this push to change the prereq language or to remove Math 102 or all those remedial classes, it does create a change. And the UC is sticking to its requirement. They do require intermediate algebra in many of the disciplines, and they are not moving away from that. One of the things that was shared last time, James had suggested the use of the language intermediate algebra or higher replacement by multiple measures. One of the examples that the UC shared that had a lot of positive feedback was completion of intermediate algebra or appropriate placement based on AB 705 mandates. We could even do a combination of the two, intermediate algebra or appropriate placement based on AB 705 mandates. The point is there has to be something there. Just because ABC is moving away from having Math 102 and is pushing for the Math 102 prerequisite to be moved altogether does not fix things, because we at ABC can't operate in a vacuum. You know, if we're wanting our classes to transfer to the UC and continue to do so, we do have to fall in line with some of their requirements. So we definitely need established wording. Are we voting on this, Scott? Are we? What is
Not
it?
today. It would be what I think would be good is you had sent out something with some proposed recommended language. What I'd like to do is send that out
Okay.
to the committee to look at, and then we can vote on it in the March 24th meeting.
Okay, and here's my question to you as the committee chair. Once the language of our choice is approved by the committee, is it something that all of the courses that are subject to this, that this language can be approved at one time? We don't have to wait for each class to come through as a regular cycle, right? I mean, what is it that we're doing with that?
Well, I think we'd still have to wait for each class, but this would be the language we would say people need to put into that section. Because I don't know that we can just, well, this is a question for Debbie. I don't know that we can do like a search and replace throughout for every place that has Math 102 as a prereq to just automatically change it in eLumen.
Well, to add to that, let me ask it this way. If we were just getting rid of Math 102 and we could and didn't have to abide by anything you see, would a search and replace for Math 102 be conducted? And I mean, if that's what was going to be done to begin with, why would we do this?
That I don't know. Debbie, do you know about how the functioning of eLumen, how that was going to work? That might be a Sam question.
I know that we could do a search and replace. My
Okay.
question is curriculum wise and catalog wise, is that okay to make that change all at one time?
Well, that's
Or
the
is there-
question, right? That's the question, because we would be having to change, for example, like I don't know, the biology classes, the chemistry classes, the physics classes, all of those courses that require the Math 102 would have to have this language now. So
Right.
And
And
Math-
so my
and so-
question is, as far as the chancellor's office goes and getting approval in Koki, it would be different language than what's already been approved right now.
Well, the language that's approved right now is still an issue, because the language that's approved right now is math completion of Math 102. So that has to go away. So that's my question to you and essentially to the chancellor's office. If we at ABC were being directed to remove that, since we're being told that Math 102 has to go away. So how can a class say completion of Math 102 when we're saying that no longer exists? That's part one. So how is that going to happen?
That may have to be class by class. When the course is being revised, that would have to be changed.
So technically, a student who wanted to enroll in a class in the fall that had not gone through curriculum committee, it would still have that completion of Math 102. So see, that's
I think the risk we need to avoid is having the course drop its math prerequisite and running the risk of the course not being allowed as a transfer course.
well, what's nice, I should say it in quotes, is the UC gives us a chance, essentially, once we change the language. If they decide to phase it out because they don't approve of the change in the language, they give us a year to fix it, where it's like in this stasis situation, which we still don't want that. Nobody wants that either. Because if we change language and they don't like it, and it's one of our, in counseling, we've lived through this with astronomy and the labs, geography, geology. It's a big headache, because when a class gets phased out, we at ABC will still offer it. And then we have to remember when it was not appropriate to be used in IGETC and when it is appropriate. So it causes a lot of confusion. So, okay, I'm happy to write up maybe 3 or 4 options, Scott, and then have
Yeah.
folks vote on it. Well, we're focusing heavily on the math because math is integral to a lot of the courses. We can't forget English. I did see that our English 101 was updated and it said something to the effect of placement by multiple measures. UCOP didn't have any negative feedback on that, so I'm crossing my fingers that when I submit it that they'll be okay with it. But we still just need to have something in a lot of these courses that, and it's a requirement, and without that, they're going to phase our classes out.
Okay, well, I mean, part of it is sort of an understanding of what language they want. And I know that can be a bit of a moving target.
Right.
So hold on, LaDonna, Debbie, quick question. Can we get a list of the courses that are affected by the Math 102 language? So we have an idea of what kind of numbers we're talking about?
I did run a course impact report. I can show that right now if you want me to share my
Yeah,
screen.
Let's
Okay.
do that just so we can take a look. And go
Okay.
ahead, LaDonna.
Scott, given the urgency of this, my question is, and I think that we're trying to figure out the most effective way to not impact the classes. So the question is, if Math 102 is still listed as a prerequisite and the language is added or multiple measures, according to AB 705 or whatever language we agree on, my question is, can it be done all of the classes that are impacted at once? Because we're not removing the Math 102 intermediate algebra requirement. And that is what the Chancellor's Office, that is what the UC system may have as a prerequisite. So I'm just talking about process, and I wonder if we've ever done that before.
I generally don't know. I don't have a memory of doing that where we just made a universal change like that. But if we were just say adding just and placement by multiple measures behind Math 102, I would theoretically think we could do that because we're not changing the prerequisite. We're just adding language to it. But that is something that right now, at this moment, I can't say. I genuinely am not sure.
Scott, some of the courses already do that.
Yeah.
But like Jessica's concerned, some of them don't. And
Right.
I second LaDonna's concern on this, because if we were to do it course by course, would we have to wait until the course needs to be revised? That could very well be a couple years from now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, it's a law. Why couldn't we do that change? I mean, and obviously I don't know the answer. And
Yeah, I don't either.
I have one question for you. When this is obviously a PDF, and the issue with this is there's a lot of repetition of what courses on this course impact report. That's why it doesn't really give us a true account. When you pull the report, is it like in a CSV file? Is it something that we can remove the duplicates from?
I think we can download these as a CSV, can't we, Debbie?
I believe so. I'll have to go in there and look at it and sort it out. I think this one just printed out as an already made report, but I can go in there and see if that's something that I can do.
That would
Yeah,
be
if you
nice.
can, I think if you may, because Jessica, I know, and Luis are both pretty good with spreadsheets. So if you could send the CSV to them and me, I think
Sure,
it can help us get an idea of an actual count.
Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, many of them already do that. They already say completion on Math 102 or higher, or placed by multiple measures.
Yeah, and some of them do. Luis is correct, and I agree with Dean Trimble. It may be as simple as adding that little extra, and that would fix everything. But there were a couple of courses, the astronomy, the economics, that were just coming through where on
Drop
the
it.
advice of other faculty, where the prerequisites were stripped, and I would like for those to go back.
Yeah.
The bigger
I
issue
second
with
that.
this report is that I think it's interesting why there are duplicates that have different information. So I actually went through the whole process of converting this to an Excel spreadsheet, which was not easy. And So if you look, there's 3 biologies, like 3 biology 101s, but not all of them have the same information. So the more interesting question is, why is eLumen pulling what looks like, are they pulling different variations or different versions? Is this from all time?
Most likely they're different versions.
And which one is the correct one? And
Right.
Yeah.
so, I mean, there are bigger issues with that report than just having it in a spreadsheet, because I already converted it to it and I was just like, well,
Well, the thing is, we can download it as a spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet may have more columns that will help us figure that out.
James, in the one that you downloaded and you restored it, obviously, how many courses did you find?
I'd have to pull it up here real quick. If I think I forwarded it to you and Catherine, didn't I?
I don't remember that.
To Jessica and Catherine.
Oh,
I'm
If
gonna,
the-
I'm sorry, James, I have not seen it.
Well, I think we're getting close to training time. So let me, while we're
Okay.
doing that, let me go ahead and dig and see if I can come up with it. And then when we return, I could either share it or answer questions about it.
Hey, James, if you can
I'll do
send
some-
it to me as well, please.
Yeah, that's fine.
and I'll do some research on if we can do that. I'm just not sure. I don't have a memory of my time on AP&P doing something like that. So maybe we can, maybe we can't. I'm not sure right now. LaDonna.
I was going to say, Scott, that maybe at a certain point, we can just email the chancellor's office for some guidance on that. I
Yeah.
think that we're not the only community college who's trying to get their courses that have prerequisite updated, and just make it clear that we're not removing anything, and see if there's any level of concern there.
Mhm.
Okay. And I would agree. I think the chancellor's office, and I'll see if there's something in PCAW, but it might require communicating with the chancellor's office. Just writing myself a note. Okay, so let's see, is any other comments on this? Okay, so yeah, so Jessica, yeah, work on some suggested language. I'll look at if we can do it, and if we can do it and we agree to the suggested language, we'll have it as an action item at the next meeting. Then we might be able to make that happen at the next meeting, and then it's just a process of doing it in eLumen if we can process-wise do that. All right. Oh, I know something else I should have mentioned in the announcements, the training schedule. So Debbie, do we still need people to volunteer, I'm assuming, for training slots? Because the first one is actually March 1st.
Yes, and I do have that in the packet, a proposed training schedule.
Yeah.
Let me pull that up here.
And
And
so
this is flexible, so it's just some dates that we put together.
yes.
Let me just
So if
find
you're
it.
open to training, please volunteering, because remember that it's also a requirement of your time as an AP&P rep. That's part of why you get the 20 flex hours is doing this training. The dates and times have flexibility. So if you want to do one, you're saying, I don't see a date or time that'll work out, contact Debbie and the two of you can find a date and time that will work. Yeah, Ariel, yes, Ariel's asking about last week's training. It is available. We have it. It isn't up yet. It'll be up definitely by next week on our website. You'll be able to access the training from last week. But we have it. We have the video. We just haven't put it up yet. Okay, is Megan here?
I don't believe she is.
Oh. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. So then then let's start, since May isn't here yet, let's start having the conversations. I don't know if we can totally lock it all down before she gets in about communication. And this is something, it's useful for today because we're going through the training on program workflows. And as I mentioned before, one of the issues we learned in December about program workflows is that as things move from stage to stage, eLumen does not send out any communication to anyone that a program is in the next stage. So the faculty member who submitted it doesn't get notified that the program has been sent back and there's notes for them that they need to address. And if it's been forwarded, the person who's at that next stage, going say from counselors to tech review to whatever, they're not getting notified that there's something waiting for them. So we have to develop a communications process outside of eLumen for that. And it's tricky because it becomes the onus of a number of different people to manage this. And yes, it is the responsibility of faculty, of those of us in the community, to be checking and logging into eLumen regularly to see what's waiting for us. If you log in and go to your inbox, you'll see it. Just that an email is never going to come to you to tell you there's something waiting in your inbox. And also, if you're a faculty member who submitted a program, you're supposed to be checking regularly. But there's also the reality that I'm not a big fan of a system that requires everybody to do the right thing, because then if people don't do the right thing, the whole system fails. And that isn't good. And that was a contributing factor to that 6.5-hour meeting we had in November, because we thought stuff was being done in eLumen that wasn't. And again, we didn't learn that until December that it wasn't happening. So what do we, do people have ideas? Uh-oh. Well, so one big question is, the communications are going to go out. So where does the onus fall on who sends out those communications? I don't think it should fall on the curriculum specialist, because they're managing a million other things. Ostensibly, the best person for it is when you are reviewing and you're either sending back or sending forward. That, well, I think for sending forward, I'm thinking it would be better that faculty in the committee are making sure they're looking in, say, once a week. Just looking in once a week, going to your inbox to see what's waiting for you. I'm more concerned about faculty who submit and then just kind of check out for a while, waiting to hear back. And what I'm thinking is that it would be good if the person, say, especially if you're sending something back, that person communicates to the faculty member, I just sent this back to you, please go check your inbox. Or I just sent something back to you. It doesn't have to be very specific. I just sent something back to you, please go log in and check your inbox. But that does put this extra responsibility on whoever is doing a review at that point, that they now have to also send out these emails and know who to send it to. Because that's the other thing, you have to make sure to look at who is the official person for the program and then send it back to that person. So what do people think about that idea? And this is definitely for like folks in tech review and counselors now. And because you're the ones who are going to have the largest number of things coming through you.
Well, Scott, I can say that outside of anything else, that might have to be our default system. Chasing whatever communication was sent through emails.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have any problem doing that. The way I envision us counselors working on the workflow is that, the faculty will, when they need to revise a program, they'll reach out to us, we'll meet, we'll hash out whatever needs to be done, and then the faculty will take that information and input into eLumen. And then, of course, I'll have to check into the program's workflow to approve that and then move it forward. And then whoever else is down the workflow will have to do the same.
Okay.
I mean, I will expect that at that point, when the faculty walks away from meeting with me or the other rep, they will know they need to go and input that into eLumen. They can just send me an email letting me know that they've done it, or it'll be up to me at some point in time before the meeting to go there and see if there was anything submitted. The problem we'll run into is that, well, when do I log in? Do I log in like the day before our meeting so I make sure I've approved it? Or do I log in, I don't know, 2 days after I met with the faculty? That will be the hard part of kind of synchronizing so that their job, the way they do it, is and doesn't affect in a bad way to anybody else,
Yeah. And again, I think this is mostly going to be an issue for when things are sent back. If something looks good and you send it forward, I don't think we need to take it among ourselves to communicate to other members of the committee. This is
Okay.
where I am going to say, committee members, just make sure you're logging in every week and checking to see what's there. The big thing is when stuff is going back. I think that's where we take it on ourselves. And this is big for the counselors, for Gabby, for Rhonda, for Van, for me. And sounds like everybody's pretty good with that idea right now. So let's make that the plan, and what it is, we can officially approve it at the next meeting. That we'll take that on, because I'd like to have it actually approved by the committee that it's the official policy. And that will make that what we do. How does that sound? Okay. All right. And I see Megan has joined us. Hi.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for your patience and waiting for me.
No problem. We were just doing the other stuff on our agenda. And as I'm looking, I think we got everything else done. Yeah. So once you're,
awesome.
Yeah, you actually came in at a good time. So you can have the rest of the meeting. And just to give you an idea, what the last thing we were just talking about was recognizing that eLumen, when programs move forward, does not send out emails. So we're talking about our communication system and sort of what we're doing on that. And so I imagine you might get to that a bit today. And if you have ideas that you've seen at other colleges, we're open to hearing.
Okay, sounds great. Sounds great. Now, I wanted to make sure that as we're going through this session today, I know that I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces and names on the board. So if I don't want to just redo the training we did before, right? Because I don't think that that's very helpful. But what I do want to do is build on it and be a little bit more detailed in program, especially around the actual building of rules inside of the system. So because I don't think everybody here was in that last session that I ran with you guys.
No.
I do want to go through kind of the deck that I had used previously, but then I'm going to jump out into the application and look at the rule builder specifically. It is really good to know, Scott, that you guys had conversation about how are we going to handle the program piece, knowing that the notifications, that the system doesn't automatically send notifications for those, because I know that was a big question mark that the last time I spoke with you guys, was still in the air. I caught the tail end of it. Could you tell me what you ended, where the policy you want to send forward and get approved? What does that look like?
So what we're looking at is the big question for us, the big concern is when stuff goes back, when we're sending it back, because the faculty member who submitted it, who's not a member of the committee, once they click submit, it might leave their brain for a while. And they're not necessarily going to be checking in. So that whoever does the send back takes on the responsibility to send an email to that faculty member, literally just to say, something's been sent back, please go into eLumen and check your inbox, without necessarily a lot of detail. Just please go into eLumen. When things are going forward, we don't feel we need to do that because that's going from committee member to committee member. And we're just going to really tell committee members, check in every week or a couple of times a week, make sure you're looking at that regularly, going in and checking your inbox. If we could build that culture in the committee, I think it's easier to do, a lot harder to do out of the committee. So that's kind of where we were.
Okay. All right. I think from what I have heard from other colleges, what you are describing as moving forward is it's pretty standard from what I hear. Now, one thing that I love to do though is talk to lots of different people. And if I hear of somebody coming up with a different kind of solution, I will absolutely let you guys know. But for now, just that kind of the tap on the shoulder, right, of the next person or the person that it goes back to is going to be efficient, or as efficient as you can make it.
Yeah. And even for the committee, like I could just send out weekly email messages to everybody. Please go in and check your inbox. Just become annoying.
just be annoying. Did you look yet? Did you look yet?
Oh, I like that.
All right. Well, let's get started. If the rest of your meeting has already taken place, I don't want to hold you around any longer this afternoon than you need to be. So let's go ahead and dive in. My name is Megan Blevins. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the Director of Training and Development for eLumen, and I am very honored to be here today with you to talk with you more about the program part of the curriculum system. Before I jump into the program piece specifically, I do want to just from a high level talk about the different areas of curriculum, because each one of those areas has a function. It was designed with a purpose. So that curriculum library, there's the three parts: the library, the dashboard, the inbox. And the library is intended to be exactly what it sounds like, right? It's the record. It is everything that you have approved, whether it's past, present, or future, that lives on that curriculum library. Then we have the dashboard. And the nice thing about the dashboard is that is tracking all of your in-progress proposals of various natures. So you have the creation of new things, the revision of existing things, the amendment of existing things. And then for courses, but coming soon to an eLumen near you for programs too, you have a deactivation segment of the workflow. So that leaves the inbox, right? So we have the library and the dashboard, everything that's approved, everything that's in progress, and then you have your inbox. And really the function of that is to help differentiate between the in progress dashboard, this is all the stuff that's in flight, and then the inbox being more specifically a to-do list for you. So inside the curriculum library, if we focus in on that from the program perspective, that gray box that appears at the top is just a filter box. It just allows you to get at the data you're trying to find a little bit faster. And for people who are launching workflows, this is where you would launch a workflow from. So whether you're creating a brand new program or you're revising one that is already in existence, this is your launch point for that. Couple buttons that you get, you will see the program outline of record report. And you'll also see this show history button. The curriculum specialist sees Articulate, but only if you're the curriculum specialist. Show history is going to give you all those versions of your program over time. And it does allow you to go into view the workflow, so you can see kind of what did life look like when in the moment that this thing was approved. The POR is going to allow you to show or to see the historic record of that proposal over time. So when you want to see things in the past or the thing that was approved for the future, that's how you're going to get there. Here's just a little view of that show history option a little bit more succinctly. You get some visual cues going on, so you can see if a program has been amended. You can see if it's the current version as opposed to previous versions. There is this amend history as well, which is going to allow you to see that that POR as it has changed over the course of being amended. And just a real quick note on what that is. Amend means, in terms of this apprentice welder certificate, spring 2022 stays the proposal start date, but I can make a change to the other information that's inside that proposal. The only exception is you cannot change the proposal start date, so it has to stay spring 2022, and you cannot remove program learning outcomes. Otherwise, everything else is fair game. All right, curriculum dashboard. This view is that in progress view of the system, and anyone who can get to the curriculum tab can get to the dashboard for the area or areas that they've been given permission to. So let's take a couple examples. If I'm a faculty member and my responsibility is in the field of math, then I'm going to see all of the math proposals. I can't necessarily affect anything, but I can see them, right? I have visibility into what's going on. By contrast, this is a curriculum committee. The curriculum committee has a role for curriculum committee. And if your role has been granted access to more than one area of the institution, then you're not just going to see, in my previous example, mathematics, but you're going to see the in-flight curriculum across the campus. Okay, so again, just depends who you've been or what your role has been given permission to see. And inside that program side of the workflow, we see view workflow, view status, view POR, and then the history. All right, let me downshift, go a little faster. Inbox. Your inbox is your to-do list, but the inbox understands you as a user, which means you're sometimes going to see this blue box that says, you can see this, there's something to do here, but you actually need to be a different role to participate. And so that's all that that's trying to do, is help you to toggle to the role that you need to be in order to do whatever it is that you need to do in that proposal. All right, quick note about the workflows as they're being built. And this is just great for everybody to have an awareness of. Workflows can differ in content, and or they can differ in who's participating in the review process. So because workflows are can inadvertently remove content if you don't intend, you can accidentally revise content out if you're not careful. So because of this, all of your custom content has been added to all workflows to reduce any perceived perception that you might have data loss. It's not that it's lost, but it might have been revised out of the system. We did talk already about program not having that ability to do the email notifications. We have a way ahead for that. In the future, we hope to be able to bring notifications to program as well. It's just not a function that's in the system right now. All right, so let's dive into program workflows a little bit. Okay, so workflows allow you to do the work based on what you're trying, what are you trying to accomplish here, right? Are we trying to create something brand new? Are we trying to revise? That's what's going to drive what you select. Now, Sam, who I didn't see in the participant list, so I think she's gone now, but she worked really hard to create a very streamlined experience in the workflow process. So when you're creating a program as an author to launch a program, you're only going to see that one option. So new program, one workflow, really straightforward, not having to guess. same thing with program modifications. So here we're seeing one program revision workflow option. So you don't have to worry about, I know in courses there's a substantial and a non-substantial change. In programs, there's just one, and that'll get you off on the right foot. So what happens next? Both of your creation and revision workflows follow very, very similar steps, and again, on purpose, right? So this was all done very intentionally and very thoughtfully. So we're going to start with faculty as authors. When the author comes in, they can either create something brand new or revise something that already exists. And when they're done, it's going to go off to the division coordinator. From the division coordinator, you're going to move over to the counselor. Now, the counselor is specifically looking at the rules and the recommended sequence. And I want to take some time today to make sure we talk through what is that, right? How do we build those? From that point, we go over to the articulation officer. Then it goes to tech review committee, then to tech review chair. Then there's 2 stops for the APMP outcomes rep 1 and 2 to take a look at the PSLOs. Then it goes to APMP committee. Then it goes off to agenda and approval, the VP of Academic Affairs, and then finally this last one is more of a housekeeping stage for all of those things we see there to happen, right? It's got to go to the Senate, it's got to go to the board, it's got to go to the Chancellor's office, and then it has to go into Banner. That should be plus Banner. All right, so all of these stages can send back a workflow to the author, and that's where Scott was describing when that happens. That's kind of outside the normal of this series of events. So when that has to go back, that's when we'll want to have that extra notification, hey, author, sent it back to you, please go take a look. Now, the great news is when it is sent back to the author, visually, you can see that in the dashboard. So inside of the program dashboard, it'll say, this is curriculum committee review pending work by so-and-so, right? So there's a visual cue to let you know that a proposal has been sent back. But the author is expected then to check comments for what needs to be adjusted prior to resubmitting. Let's go through that send back experience. So the author, when they are building that proposal, is presented with a workflow agreement box. It's on the cover info of the proposal, and they are simply checking the box to say that they understand these things, right? That this is the process, that they need to, or I should say that the proposal corrections lengthen the approval timeline, right? Because it's got to go back, somebody's got to do something. And then in this last part, responsibility of the faculty to monitor the progress of their program workflow. So just helping awareness that we have to have a little bit more communication outside of the system to make sure that those proposals are moving forward. This was a new feature. The intention of it is just to help avoid delays, help keep people on the same page, keep the process transparent. All right, so let's take a look at you as a reviewer. If you request a change, what do you see? So you're going to mark request change on the portions of the workflow that you feel need a modification. And then you can leave some constructive comments to help the author make the appropriate changes. The more descriptive you are, the better able they will be to understand and then make that correction. And highly recommend review the entire proposal and send it back once, right? So don't get to the first thing that was wrong and request a change and send it back and end up in a terrible loop. But instead, go through the whole thing and mark where you think things are wrong, and then send back after you've got a chance to look at all of the pieces. Just a quick note on over communication, right? when we are talking to someone, or like I'm talking to you, and I can see some people have their cameras on. I don't, because I have low bandwidth today. But the idea is I can be much more articulate. I can give with gesture and facial expressions and stuff like that. When we're having verbal communication, we are able to, you know, identify somebody's understanding. They get it. I don't need to explain more. When we send a text message like this back, we don't get any of that. So if we what we think might feel like over communicating, we're probably communicating just enough.
Yeah, I'd like to, I do encourage some real detail in those, because I've had faculty who've gotten the messages and really don't understand what they're being told. So yeah, don't be afraid to say too much in these. It's better to have more detail than not enough.
Absolutely. Thank you, Scott. All right, after you hit that submit button, it's going to ask you, and this might seem a little strange at first, so let's just read through it. It's going to ask you, where do you want this to go back to when the author's done? So all it's saying is, we're going to send this back to the author, and then what stage do you want it to come back to? So all you need to do at this point is just pick your stage so that it can come back to you when the author is finished. So when they've made their corrections, it'll come back to you. Now, dashboard will show it's been sent back. This is that little visual indicator that I was describing. So in this particular scenario that I set up, here we can see the division coordinator. That's the stage it will go back to pending review by, and then the author's name. So that's that visual indicator that lets you know that the proposal has been sent back. Right. Now from the faculty's experience, okay, great. Now we can come in, we can make the correction, and I see it in red. This is a little bit different than your course experience. In course experience, you don't see, no, the author sees it in red. I'm going to stop trying to ad lib and just go with what's on my slide. I'm going to get to that in a second. So the faculty gets it. They can see outlined in red what they need to make a modification to, and then they can see those comments. If in doubt, the AP&P rep is going to be your go-to person for what is it that we need to make a modification to. So once that faculty member submits, then it is going to send it back to the reviewer stage that was selected when that original send back took place. So those words are a little bit circular in their logic, but basically I was reviewing it, I sent it back to Scott, Scott made his changes, and as soon as Scott hit submit, it's going to come back to me because I said to have it come back to me when I was sending it to him, right? That's what it's going to do. Right. The reviewer, now it's back in your court, right? So you come back into the workflow, and the area that you had originally marked as requesting a change will still be marked as the requested change. And at that point, you can approve. This is where your experience is going to be just a little different as a reviewer from course. So in program, this still says request change when it comes back to you. And in a course, it's fresh. Using the rule builder. So the rule builder is going to, how do I want to, let me take just a second to talk through this, and then we'll look at it, and it'll make more sense when we're looking at it. So the rule builder is tracking course versions. There's a couple of things that are going to automatically update from one version of a program to the next, because the curricular cycle for courses keeps happening, right? So let's say I start a program, let's say I built a welding certificate, great. In 2017, I built a welding certificate. And in 2020, I go back in again to make a revision to that welding certificate. It's been 3 years. I want to modify it, update it for changes. In the interim 3 years, courses within that program had modifications made to them. And what happens then inside the program? That's the scenario I want to set up. So let's say inside of my welding certificate, my Welding 100 course went through a modification. And in that modification, we changed the title, we changed the course code, and we changed the units. Big, huge changes. Now, it's highly likely that we should have changed that program when we changed that course, but let's say we didn't, right? Okay. Once I open up my program revision in fall of 2020, what I will see is that the title and the course code will have automatically updated for me. So if it was Weld 100 and I changed it to Mech Weld 100A, then that changes there. I don't have to do anything special. However, the units do not automatically update. Now that's because eLumen doesn't know what right looks like for that program. That field is flexible, and there's not one data point back in the course that the program always points to. So title, there is. Course code, there is. It's one code, right? One title. But units, they could be variable. They could be on multiple profiles. There's a lot of, or it might be a variable unit course that for your particular program, it only makes sense if the student takes it for one, like let's say it's a 1 to 5 unit course, but you want them to take it for 3 units. And that's how you've built your program. So there's a lot of ways in which it might, that's what I mean when I say eLumen doesn't know what right looks like for your program, and that's why we don't automatically bring the value in. So units do not automatically update. So the question you might ask then is, okay, Megan, if they're not going to automatically update, how do I know? All right, how do I know? This goes a little bit outside of, this is more kind of curriculum specialist or curriculum administration, but I think it's really important for everyone to have awareness of these features so that you know what they are and how you can leverage the system. So when I'm looking at any course inside of my library, one of my options are an impact report. And an impact report is going to provide me information on courses that use my course as a requisite, courses that are requisites of my course, and then any programs that use this course. And that's the one that we're interested in when units change. So as a matter of management of curriculum, when unit changes take place, the impact report is going to show you everywhere that program is being used and how many units it's using. Then you can make the command decision, is this substantial enough that that program needs to be modified or not? All right, but Megan, how do I know after all is said and done, I didn't keep track of that as a value, or maybe I'm not sure if I did, well enough, or my gosh, eLumen, can't you just help me figure out which courses changed their units? Yes, we can. All right, that's where articulation change report is going to come into play. Now, the articulation change report is a report that holds a lot of different pieces, and I'm just trying to open one right now so we can look at it together. Give me just a second to get it open. The articulation officer report isn't just for articulation officers. It's going to have information that is very, very important. And when I open this, if your AO is here, you're going to go, oh, I know that information that I have to share with other AOs in the state. So the format of the report is intended to help to do that, but this information can be used by anybody, right? So course code changes are tracked. Title changes are tracked, both what it was and what it has changed to, whether it's new, revision, or deactivation, deletion. And then here's the column for unit changes. So what this is going to do is this report is based on proposal start term. So when you do your revision and you say, here's my new curriculum in this curricular cycle, we're going to have summer of 2022 as our proposal start. And so you can run this report for that proposal start term. And now you can see all of the unit changes that took place. And then now couple this unit changes and the courses we know had a unit change with the impact report. And now you're armed with all the information that you need to be able to ascertain, do I need to go into these programs and go modify those units or not?
Megan?
Because the answer might be no. Yeah.
So this actually came up a little earlier when we were talking about impact reports and the fact, so if you look at like Art 101, repeats over and over again, that we were sort of trying to get a count on an impact report, but we're being thrown off by the fact that we see like the same course multiple times. Can you talk a little about why that is, and is there a way to filter that out?
I should know why that is. I don't know why that is, but I will find out why that is, and I will make sure that you are right. I have been looking up here where there's singulars, but down here there's multiples. Usually when we see that, it would indicate multiple versions. So but that only makes sense if you're picking multiple proposal start terms. So let me get back to you and figure out why we see multiples. You're seeing that in your site as well, Scott, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I will find out. You are welcome. Okay, I'm going to come back over into eLumen. And we were talking about those two reports so that the units don't modify inside of the program builder. There's also tags on the courses. One of the tags you might see is invalid. Now, invalid typically means that the course, for whatever reason, in the record that was added to the program doesn't exist in the same way anymore. Program Builder and these particular tags are new. They're not quite a year old. And so what we're finding is that in the data that came from the old Program Builder into the new Program Builder, there's sometimes these circumstances where you'll be looking at a course and it's got this tag of invalid, but it's not, it's not, right? It doesn't make any sense. So the first thing that I would say to do is just go ahead and take out the course and then put it back in again. And usually that resets the data associated with that course and you don't see that invalid tag anymore. However, if that persists, that's definitely something we would want you to let us know right away so that we could go into the background of the data and make sure that the courses have the proper start date. There's a tag on the back end of the data that gets added to new courses. And we're just finding that every once in a while that tag is inaccurately added to some courses. So typically take it out, put it back in, it works just fine. But if you find that the equivalent of like turn it off, unplug it, plug it back in and restart the computer, it's the program equivalent of that. But if that still doesn't work, then just let us know and we will make sure to get that resolved for you as soon as possible. Right. Let's talk about rules. Okay. 3 types of rules in the rule builder. You can add course rules. That just means you're adding courses. You can add text rules. That gives you the opportunity to create a statement or to perhaps bundle together a group of things that would be impossible or so arduous to bundle together that it defies logic, right? Like, take any course that's not in the discipline of math, and that will satisfy as your elective. You're not going to literally add like hundreds of courses to your course group. That would be silly, but you can accommodate that with a text rule. Another example of a text rule might be to have a requirement that's not a course, right? You need to have admittance to the program, or you need to have a foreign language equivalency test or something like that, right? There's circumstances that pop up pretty regularly. All right, the third one is rule groups. And this was a big, one of the big drivers toward the new program builder is the previous eLumen program builder did not accommodate unlimited nesting. You were restricted to 2 levels of nesting. What do I mean by that? I mean something like creating complex ands and ors in your rule structure. So the new rule groups accommodate unlimited nesting, which just allows you to be as complex inside of your rules as you might want to be. We're going to build those for real in just a minute. New rule conditions. This means you are going to be able to do things like all of the following, at least one of the following number of credits, and the following number of rules. Each one of those does something a little bit different. All of the following is what it sounds like. Take all the courses. At least one of the following is going to provide a range if you have multiple. So it's 1 up through however many they could potentially take. The following number of credits, that's the only rule the old rule builder had. So now we have the ability to do these others, plus also the following number of rules, which is just intended to be a little bit of a differentiator between credits and then rules, meaning maybe you could do that equivalency exam, right? So you could do the text rule, you could satisfy in that way, or you could take the courses, and that would be, do one of the following 2 rules as opposed to a number of credits. Okay. Here, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the builder itself and just go ahead and do some rule building inside of the system. Sorry, and when I have low bandwidth and it's taking forever to load in, then I used the wrong role. I apologize. Right. Let's jump into the workflow. All right, well, this spins up, and hopefully I didn't click too quick and it's going to jump over to the rule builder on me before it lets me pick a proposal start term. Before you jump over into the builder, which I did, sorry, I'm going to go back to cover info. Everything you see in the rule builder, the versions of the courses that you see are based on the proposal start. So spread the word. As you are authoring a program, you want to pick that proposal start term first. And then it's going to give you what are the versions of the courses that are set for summer 2022. That's the example here. All right, jumping over to Rule Builder. What we recommend is that you take the title of the program and make that the uppermost rule group. There's a few reasons for this, but the main one is so that when you're visually looking at your, well, visually and from a data perspective, what you're looking at in this rule group that you're creating is everything that it takes to get this. So that's why we recommend to take the title of the program and to add it here. The other thing I want to point out is this blue bar on the left-hand side. So programs, by their nature, can sometimes get incredibly complicated. And when they do, a best practice is to take these areas and collapse them. That blue bar over here is going to help you to identify the buttons that you're going to use for adding rules to the whatever group you're in. All right, so let's start simple, right? Start simple. I'm going to add a couple of course rules to this singular rule group. And what I did was I selected add course rules. And then it gave me this option to pick courses. Now I love this because it has the search box and I can search all over and just pick things. In parentheses next to the title, you can see that word active. It's telling you the version for summer 2022, right? There's an active version of ADJ 105, but there's an in creation Anthro 101. So those tags are going to look a little bit different. Now I'm just going to add these couple courses. There are those status tags that I was describing before. And then I can select this button to add the courses to the group. This one, let's just say it's for, that's probably, there we go, let's do a spread. 1 to 3 units, right? Okay, so I have said, here's my program, and you need to take, this is the entirety of my program, and this is what it is, right? Very simply, take all of the following. If I save this, and I come back to the dashboard, what we're going to see in that program outline of record report is how that program rule structure is going to look. I'm going to streamline the report a little bit so it's a little faster. There we go. So applied mathematics, here's that program title I put in. I need them to complete all of the following. Here are the following courses. Here's the number of units that they take them for. And this total of 8 to 10 in parentheses is the overall total of units for the program. Now, this is a little bit of a user experience. What am I gonna, my word is failing me. It's not quite intuitive, right? As people operating in today's society, I expect totals to usually be at the bottom. However, because of the way that the rule structure is built, if we put the total at the bottom, it's actually less clear, which seems counterintuitive, but it actually is. So the applied mathematics, you're taking a total of 8 to 10 units, and that total is in parentheses up by the program as a whole. So we're not seeing it down here, we're seeing it up over here. But this is a really simple take all of the following. The next kind of step up that you can go from take all of the following is maybe you need to do some this or that, right? So if I am going to do a this or a that, then I typically am going to create that as part of 2 different rule groups. So maybe I have my required courses, and then let's say these were required. So drag and drop these down into my rule group that I just created. And that blue line over here on the left-hand side is showing me where my groupings are, my parent-child relationship. And this is where detail can sometimes get overwhelming. And so we can use those carrots to collapse. So here, this is my required courses. I still want folks to take all of the following. So it's just going to add these together. For the sake of everybody's visualization, let's change that to not being a variable credit course. So this one is just for 3 units. And then I can add another group to be my elective courses. In my elective courses, they're not going to take all of the following. They're going to take 3 units. Okay, now what are they taking? That's where I'm going to add the course rules. The button, let me go back and do that again because I realized I just did that really fast. The button that I'm picking, remember how I said the blue lines help you find the buttons? I have 2 add course rules. Well, which one am I supposed to use? It depends what group you're trying to add them to. So are you trying to add it to the overall applied mathematics, or are you trying to add it to elective courses? So I want to add it to elective courses. So I follow that blue line down and then add the courses in. And in this one, I can go ahead and pick some of my accounting courses that are at the top. And I can add those courses into the group. Okay. Now, in this one, this could be take these courses, right? But I might also have an option. Maybe it's an honors option, right? And so if I have an option like that within my electives, I can do something like this, add another course group in. And now I can say English option, honors or not honors, right? However you want to describe it. And here, you're going to ask them to take this for 3 credits, but you're going to give them the option of either the honors or the non-honors version of a particular course, right? So let's go English. There we go. So there's my American literature honors and not honors. All right. And now I'm going to add those courses to the course group. So lots of colors now. Let's talk about the labels a little bit more. So what did I do here? I built a couple of things, right? I built first required courses. Then I built my electives courses. But my electives courses could be any of these, or I have the option to do this or that. My this or that, I broke up into its own rule group. So now I'm clearly showing the student, you're taking elective courses. I need you to take 6. You can do this, 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 or this or this. The other thing that you're noticing, besides our inactive, in creation, active, right, those kinds of labels, is distance education course. This is brand new. What is this? This came out in January. The opportunity you get here, if you would like to do it, is that you can determine, or you can show how much of a program can be taken as distance education. It doesn't mean it's being offered that way necessarily, right? But if the student was super crafty and waited for just the right offering, because it's been approved, right? Accounting 102 has been approved to be offered as distance education. Then if the student does take it that way, then 19% of this particular program could be taken for distance education. That's kind of the method that we're doing here. So Scott, has the committee even explored this new feature, understanding it is brand?
No, because we just sort of rebuilt our workflows, which will start next week. And I'm not sure if we've included that or not. I think we probably will, but we haven't been using it at this point.
Right, absolutely understood. If this is a feature that you want to explore more, just let me know and we can go through it more thoroughly. We're at 4:30 now. I have a few more minutes that I can stay, but then I need to sign off. I know you guys have another hour left in your meeting, but I don't have the ability to stay that long.
Can I ask one quick
So I
question?
can't. Oh, of course.
Sure, about this screen. So at the top where it says complete all of the following 0 to 0, there's been some confusion about that. Is there not necessity to have units there when you have all of the following? Is that the connection?
That is exactly right. So what this is saying is you are anticipating that all of the rules that you're building in here, all of the credit rules, that all of those are to be completed to gain this award. So in this case, it would be 16 overall once we took all of the required courses and all of the elective courses as they've been defined.
Okay, just wanted to check on that because there was some confusion about that in fall.
Yep, absolutely. All right. So the last part of complex rules then is if you have things like concentrations, right? You build those up in the same way that you would build up this idea of required versus elective. Your ORs, you can take the English, or I'm sorry, the honors option or the not honors option. You can take the other way I've seen this expressed is, for example, maybe it's you can take these 2 courses, or you can take this 1 course because the 1 course is the equivalent of the other 2 courses taken together, right? That's just a little bit of difference. You could do that in a split like we see here in the elective courses with those rule groups. So that's how you would continue to build out more and more complex structure. You would just continue to use those rule groups. And I do the carrots expanding and collapsing all the time because it just really helps you zoom out, look at it from a not too detailed level, and then zoom back in again on the detail that you need. So I find that to be super helpful. Right. Quick note about recommended sequence. Actually, I'm sorry, Scott, before I dive into that, is recommended sequence a feature that you want folks to be building or?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So let me squash the first and most kind of head scratcher moment that people get from recommended sequence. And that is, this is not intended to be a rebuild of the rules. Not at all. Inside of recommended sequence, this is intended to be the very detailed expectation to the student of when they should do particular things, right? So in Rule Builder, we told them what they needed to do. And in recommended sequence, we take the what and we apply time to it. Recommended sequences, you can have many. So this plus allows you to create many different sequences, and you can clone sequences. So for example, if you wanted to create a sequence that was a full-time student, and then you want to clone that and modify it a little bit for your part-time students, you can do that. And then if you wanted to take that again, clone it, and oh, let's talk concentrations this time. Here I built out the full-time student, and here their concentration is in ceramics. It's an art program. This is what it looks like. Okay, that's the the ceramics concentration recommended sequence. Copy it again. Now you can do the painting version of the recommended sequence. So I say that because when we decide what the student is going to do, we can drag and drop the rule over from our builder and then the expectation is we tell them what to take. So in this course, or I'm sorry, in this example, I have told the student, hey, in term 1, or you could call this fall, or you could call it whatever you want, I want you to take accounting 102. And here, I also need you to take some required courses. I need you to take ADJ 105. And I need you to take Anthro 101. Notice I didn't select both of those required courses from one drag and drop. I dragged and dropped it over twice. So every course we are telling the student to take is a new drag and drop over, because we're being very specific. We're building out that that expectation one course at a time. Now, that's not to say you can't pick more than one. So I hope you saw that when I was doing this. I'm going to drag it over here again. Okay, there it is. You can do choose any. You can also give them a selection, right? Choose any of these selected. But what that does is it starts to grow the complexity of what that recommended sequence looks like on your program outline of record report. So you can provide option. And I also realize that this gets into a very, very, very touchy area for folks, because if I tell students take accounting 102, then that means I'm kind of shining an extra light on accounting 102, and that course may inadvertently get more enrollment than 105 and 106 because I've said take 102, right? As well, ADJ 105 and might be a better example, but that idea, right? Understanding that that is a thing, it's real, and that's why you can choose more things. But the intention here is to be really detailed for the student and not just simply rebuilding the rules in terms, but instead to really help them see you're more successful if you do it like this. That's what recommended sequence is intended to be, right? Questions for me? I know that was like kind of a really big blast here at the end of how to.
What was useful, the rule builder and the recommended sequence are definitely the walls we occasionally bump into. So that was very helpful.
Excellent. All right. All right, everybody. I would encourage you, if you have questions that come up, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know if there's anything you feel like that we didn't cover that you would have wanted to cover. So just let me know. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for your time today. Thanks for listening. I appreciate you allowing me to be.
Uh-oh. Still, still there?
Oh, I am. Did I fade away?
Yeah, you just cut out in the mid-sentence for a little bit.
Oh no, I was just thanking everybody. Thank you for letting me be.
Yeah, you're going in and out now. Well, the good side is it's happening at the perfect moment because you're done.
There you go.
Yeah, we're only getting like a little bloop every few seconds.
All
Okay.
right, guys. Well, thank you. I apologize. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thank you, Megan.
Bye,
Wow.
everyone.
Bye-bye. Wow, that was good timing. Seriously, it's like right when she's done, that's when we start having issues. She planned that very well. Always have your lesson plans very well worked out. So coordinate your technical problems right for when they're not going to be an issue anymore. That's good lesson planning. All right, so that's basically it, because we did cover our other things ahead of it. So the last things I'll mention again is please go out and let your faculty know the workflows are open on the 1st. Don't wait until fall. Again, please hit them with that on every department meeting, and we will be sending out emails also. And the second thing is contact Debbie about participating in training. I understand the training isn't necessarily a structured lesson plan. It's really more like coaching. You sort of are there. Faculty come in who need help putting together their courses or programs, and you're there with them to provide help. Debbie, I think, will be there at all the sessions, and I'll be there at some sessions also. So you're not going to be alone having to teach like a course. It's a coaching session in which you're there for faculty to help them figure out how to do stuff as they're working in their courses. So let Debbie know a date and time you can volunteer for. And again, if the date and time that's on the addendum schedule doesn't work, you can propose another one, and that should most likely work fine. Or Debbie will find a date and time that will work. You're not limited to those, but please make sure and do that. Heidi, question.
I think you just answered my question. So
Okay.
that proposed training schedule was on the addendum link?
Yes, it's on the addendum,
Okay.
correct.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, okay. Cynthia's already ready to sign up. All right, excellent. So yeah, so just reach out to Debbie and say a date and time and see if she can make that work. And remember, we only have 3 meetings in spring. So that's why if you haven't done any training yet, this is important to do it now because we only have 3 meetings left. So this helps. Again, this is part of why you get that 20 hours of flex. Any last comments or statements? All right, then can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, thank you all very much. We, all in favor of adjourning, say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Abstentions, which would actually be a weird thing to do for adjourning because I'm not really sure how that would look. All right. Thank you all very much. Have a good day. Have a good spring break because we won't see each other until after spring break. And a filibuster. No, get rid of this guy. And I will be here for a little bit in case anybody has any questions they want to ask.
Scott, I have a couple of questions about the tech committee.
Yes.
So last time we were on it together, we were mostly just kind of trying to power through all of the distance ed emergency approvals. Do you think there might be some time for us to kind of meet and talk about what other things we need to do, just so I'm up to date?
Yes, I was actually thinking about doing that with you and Gab.